Battlefield 2042's journey has been a slippery slope to say the least, and its journey isn't anywhere near over, as the game is regularly updated to this day. In fact, as of the last few months, Battlefield 2042 has slowly began to feel like an actual Battlefield game, as opposed to the dumpster fire that was originally released. But how did we get from a dumpster fire to where we are now? This is the story of the rise, fall, and rebound of Battlefield 2042. The year is 2020. People across the globe are stuck inside their humble abodes, doing what makes them happy during this strange period of global catastrophe. These things that people did usually included hobbies that distracted them from the pandemic that was raging outside, and since time was no longer an issue, it was being spent in massive quantities on these hobbies. Personally, I was playing a lot of video games during the era of the lockdowns. I played the most Minecraft I'd ever played in a span of a few weeks, and truthfully, it was probably too much. One of the games that many people, including myself, were playing was Battlefield 5, and it wasn't doing so hot. In fact, at this point in the game's short life, the active player count was beginning to decline, even despite the fact that everybody was locked inside. The player base had simply had enough. They longed for the days of helicopters and jets. Then, in early 2021, rumors of a return to modern combat began to leak to the public. As months pass, these leaks turn into waterfalls, and in June of 2021, Battlefield 2042 is officially revealed. The hype commences, aside from a few small things that totally won't come back to bite the game later. Among these small things is a total revamp of the class system. It will apparently no longer exist, and will be replaced with specialists, kinda like Overwatch. This causes some controversy, as it isn't like Battlefield to do this, but again, it shouldn't be too game-altering, right? There's also no campaign, but that's not too bad. As the clock ticks down to release, the hype grows astronomically higher by the day. Then, the game is delayed by a month. In light of this, the open beta releases in October of 2021, and it looks... But not to worry, the build is supposedly months old, and the current build is a lot better. The hype is back on. And finally, on November 19th, 2021, Battlefield 2042 releases fully to the public. Collapse. Battlefield 2042's launch is the worst on record. Glitches plagued the gameplay, and it didn't feel even remotely close to a finished game. The Steam reviews begin to pile in after a few days, and they're not looking good. So what went wrong? Well, for starters, there wasn't a scoreboard. The specialist system was a disaster, and obviously didn't work very well in a Battlefield game. Almost like we speculated that earlier. Maps felt almost too large, even for a Battlefield game, which had a history of large maps, and the developers' push for microtransactions in a battle pass didn't appeal very well to players. And after just a few months, Battlefield 2042's player count hit rock bottom, reaching sub 5,000 players on multiple occasions, the same amount of people that attend A's games nowadays. The worst part was that this was the second horrendous launch of a Battlefield game in a row, and could have easily been avoided if the developers had just listened to their player base. The only positive about the situation was that there was only one direction left to go, and that was up. EA finally decided to admit that they messed up after the active player count became lower than some of the older Battlefield games. They announced that they had a plan that was supposedly going to right their wrongs and make Battlefield 2042 playable again, and that's what they've been doing. Now, in my opinion, Battlefield 2042 still has a lot of work to do to become as enjoyable as previous installments. There's not a huge range of weapons or vehicles, and some of the maps are just bad, but they're on the right track. As of the time of recording this video, the active player count has pushed above 11,000, which still isn't great, but it's a sign of improvement. I'm certainly glad that the game is headed in a positive direction though, because in the long run, I want to remember Battlefield 2042 as a somewhat successful Battlefield game. That's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next one, where I either get really wasted in Deep Rock Galactic or take way too long to make another Battlefield commentary. Goodbye.